what's happening? It's Richard here. Welcome to a massive overload episode of comics. I'm not even kidding you, massive overload. So basically this week for comics was the week when companies decide, let's just release every single book we have in stock and make sure the majority of our customers have a good 20 or more books that they're taking home. At least that's what it felt like, because I got a lot of books this week, more than I usually get. Now, I know I did get a lot of books 2 weeks ago when Superman Unchained came out, but the difference between last week and this week is quite simple. Last week, the majority of the books that I got were new series, whereas this week I only got one new book. One! Also, a difference is last week I had a really bad beard, whereas this week I'm clean shaven. You get a really good look at my double chin this week. Aww. So speaking of new books, the new book that I got this week is also the big book I got this week. BatmanSuperman #1 by Greg Pak, Jay Lee, and Ben Oliver. So because this is the big book of the week, I will be reviewing this good old thing at the end of the episode, and I will start off with all the other books that I got this week. And because there is so many, I'm going to try to go as fast as possible while being as thorough as possible, so if I feel rushed or you think I'm being rushed, I'm really sorry. I just don't want this to be too long of an episode. So anyways, without further ado, let's get this started. So the first book I'm going to be reviewing for you guys is Aquaman, #21 by Jeff Johns and Paul Pelletier. So this issue is the continuation of the Death of the King storyline, which is, in my opinion, a very Game of Thrones-esque kind of storyline. It's a little bit more action-packed, but there's definitely some Game of Thrones-y-esqueness, and it's just amazing. To mix Atlantis, Aquaman, and Game of Thrones into one thing is genius, so thank you, Jeff Johns, for that. This was another solid, great issue of Aquaman. If you're not reading Aquaman, do yourself a favor, put what you've heard about Aquaman aside and pick up this series. Next up from Image Comics, we have Five Ghosts, #4 of 5. So if you don't know what Five Ghosts is this pulpy adventure comic about this guy named Fabian Gray. Now Fabian Gray has a unique condition, and the condition is he channels the ability of these 5 ghosts, and each of the 5 ghosts are represented by different literary characters like Sherlock Holmes and Robin Hood and stuff like that. And just that concept alone, and based on some of the cover and stuff that I've seen, that was a big motivation for me to want to pick up this series. And 4 issues in, I am hooked on it. This is an amazing book. If you're not reading this, I totally think you should be. It's just good old-fashioned pulp adventure, supernatural stuff. It's great. Next up, we have... Didn't I just review this? Marvel, you and your bi-monthliness. So while last couple of weeks ago we had an amazing issue of Guardians of the Galaxy, this one still good, still entertaining, great artwork, but just it feels like it's not really, it feels like it's building, it's more of setup than anything else, which is just eh. And it makes sense that it's kind of feels like setup because next issue is going to be the big Neil Gaiman entrance to the Marvel Universe with the Angela character, the Spawn character that there was that whole news story about. So yeah, this definitely feels like a kind of a setup issue, but it's still entertaining. It definitely has one of the more funny moments between Gamora and Tony Stark. Also, again, great artwork. Sarah Pichelli is doing it instead of Steve McNiven now. I don't know if there's that was just an artist switch or if he's taking a break. I don't know. But regardless of that, this was a welcome art change as opposed to most Marvel books where they change an artist and I'm like, stop it. This and Hawkeye are really the only 2 Marvel books that I'm cool with the artist change. Speaking of Hawkeye, boom! Hawkeye #11, people. Now this is probably the best issue I've read of Hawkeye yet because it features the dog. It's all about the dog. Who would have thought an issue of a comic book all about a dog would be dramatic and funny? It would just be a whole bunch of things all at once. I'm not even kidding you. This issue is by far the best issue, and the big reason for it is because David Aja is basically taking control this week. Nothing against Matt Fraction, but a big reason I love Hawkeye is for David Aja. He's an amazing freaking artist. So Hawkeye #11, it's without a doubt an amazing freaking issue. Read Hawkeye if you haven't. Next up, I'm going to be reviewing all 3 Justice League books because DC decided to release all 3 of them this week. Thank you for that. It's not like I don't have money or anything. So the first issue is the main Justice League book, this week featuring Shazam as opposed to the actual Justice League. Now this is the big conclusion to the backup storyline that's been being told in this series, and what an amazing freaking conclusion it is. It sets up nicely Shazam's place in the New 52, as well as, you know, sets him up to hopefully give him his own series. Please, Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, do a separate Shazam book. I'm begging you. I know I said I'm poor earlier, but I'm willing to spend more money for this. Next, we have Justice League of America by Jeff Johns and Brett Booth, and probably the weakest link of the week, I would say. I mean, it wasn't a bad issue, but it just wasn't, like, amazing. And finally, the last Justice League book, Justice League Dark by Jeff Lemire, Ray Fox, and Mikkel Janin. I gotta say, the last story arc wasn't the greatest in the world, but this current one, a lot better, a lot more engaging. Though I still think that Jeff Lemire did a better job on his own with this series. No offense to Ray Fox, but I think it should just be Jeff Lemire again, but that's just me. Again, I'm sorry if this is being rushed, but there's just so much to review, man. Next up, we have Regular Show! Oh! Whoa! That's right, Regular Show. When I heard this show was going to turn into a comic, I was definitely geared for it. For a comic based on a kid's show, this is a pretty damn good one. But no, if you're a Regular Show fan and you haven't seen this, totally check it out. 2 issues in, the series is fantastic. Next up, we have issue 2 of The Wake by Scott Snyder and Sean Murphy. This series is so good! The Wake, if you don't know, is a new science fiction horror-esque limited series from Vertigo by Scott Snyder and Sean Murphy, and boy, is it good. Last issue was filled with so much intrigue, and it made me really excited to read the series because it felt really different than most of the stuff I've read from Scott Snyder. And this issue continues that, and while it's a little bit exposition-y in the issue, it's still freaking good. Like, Scott Snyder's just amazing with the character work, so I'm cool with it, with the exposition. And Sean Murphy, man, I love you. You're amazing. And the last book before the big book this week, XMen number 2! That's right, XMen number 2, people. Amazing issue. Now, I would say last week's issue was far superior. And this issue, while it definitely does a great job of continuing the story and the great character work and all that stuff, it's definitely more action-driven than story-driven, so it kind of loses some points, because, you know, but again, it's a superhero comic, so what do you expect? I'm not going to dog on a superhero comic for being too action-y, because that would be stupid. But other than that, just between the 2 issues, I do like issue 1 more, but this one is amazing as well. Now that all those books are out of the way, it's time to review the Granddaddy Marshall of the week, Batman-Superman number 1. So, I gotta say, I was really geared to read this series, but mainly for the creative team of Greg Pak and Jay Lee. And having read it at this point, I've read it a couple of times at this point, I really liked it. I thought it was really good. Greg Pak, I think, has a phenomenal freaking handle on the Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne characters. I think he has the voices down, like, boom. So Greg Pak was definitely a great choice to handle this series, and actually, based on this first issue, I might pick up Action Comics again. Now, here's the thing. When I saw that this book was being drawn by 2 artists, I got a little worried. It seemed like maybe the secondary artist would have just been a fill-in artist, but that's not the case. There is an artist switch in the book, but it makes sense story-wise, so that's why it works for me. So overall, this was definitely a great first issue. I highly recommend Batman-Superman. Now that everything's been reviewed, it's time for me to pick my comic of the week. And my pick of the week, by far, is Justice League number 21. Amazing artwork, amazing writing, an epic freaking conclusion to probably the better storyline being told in the Justice League series. So yeah, I mean, again, I don't know if this is going to be a common pick for pick of the week, but this is my pick for pick of the week, and I'm sticking with it. So anyways, people, that is about it for this guy. In the comment section below, what was your favorite comic you picked up this week? And as always, don't forget to like this video, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, DirectorsCutRadio.com, and Tumblr. The links are all down below. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you like what you see, and favorite this video because I like it when you do that. And I'll see you guys next time with a brand new video. Bye!